To us, magic sounds like this extraordinary thing, pulling a rabbit out of the hat, coming out of nowhere. But it's here, it's real, and the more that we are open to the unseen, to the energies of this world, to abundance and manifesting, to calling in and growing, the more we'll be able to call magic into our lives. Join me as I share stories, wisdom, and curiosity around connecting with your higher frequency, tapping into the synchronicities of the universe, and opening up to the unseen possibilities that this world has to offer. I am your host, Dayna Faye, and this is the Ordinary Magic Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. I am here today with Katy Ripp. Hi, Katy.
Hi, Dayna. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our mutual friends connected us. She just thought we had to meet each other, and we connected right away. And luckily, Katy owns a wine bar called 1909 in Cross Plains, and I was looking for a space to host my human design event. And Katy was so gracious. She hosts events there all the time. It was the perfect place for me to host one, and we had a really fun time. So thank you for that. I appreciate
of course.
it.
Yes, that's what we love to do.
A little intro to Katy. She is a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur owning a multitude of businesses. The 1909 Wine Bar and Event Venue, the Crossroads Coffee House, and the Creekside Scoop, as well as a partner in a non-alcoholic brand called Mox and Cox. She is involved in her beloved community of Cross Plains as the Chamber of Commerce president and as a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom, a member also of the Cross Plains Middleton American Legion. But Katy's true passion lies in inspiring and mentoring women to pursue her dreams by sharing her story in sobriety, navigating entrepreneurship without a college degree, learning on the fly, taking the leap, and ultimately living a life of freedom and flexibility. I love that, Katy, especially freedom. That is a feeling core into my bones that I am always looking for, to feel fully free from the inside out. Have you always felt like you were in search of that?
Probably always in search of it. I think I probably didn't know it. I get some yoga therapy done by an acupuncturist and Chinese doctor who is also a really good friend of mine. And she always asked me why, right? Like why I was doing anything. And it was always this level of, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Okay, why are you doing that? So these levels of like kind of peeling back those layers of an onion. And my core true answer is freedom gives me the most peace. I think ultimately everybody's looking for peace, right? Peace of mind, peace of body, peace of soul. But mine is freedom, financial freedom, freedom from time constraints, freedom from obligation, freedom from working for other people, freedom from anxiety. And I mean, just bottom line freedom. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how interesting that somebody was working on you physically as you're uncovering all of that. It's so connected.
Yeah, it's certainly been a progress, right? Like I didn't just show up with freedom. I do have a life of freedom now, but I worked really hard for this. And by hard, I think I've had more freedom in the last 2 years than I have all of my other years combined. And that I think is in direct correlation of me taking care of myself, taking a step back and not grinding so hard, right? I think all of us in this generation, and especially women, we were taught to grind. And the harder you work, the better it is. But there's also some soft work out there too. And that soft work is really what's given me this life that I love.
That's so beautiful. And what a lesson. And how interesting, because today, Katy has been gracious enough to share her human design chart with me. We're going to do a little mini reading. And what human design is here to teach us is that we don't have to grind it out. If we can read our own energy and follow our body's clues, we can get to the same place we're trying to go without all the very masculine energy. What I'm hearing you say is you also softened and you brought a little bit of the feminine back in, and you have started to get to this path of freedom by doing that. And really, the first opening was taking care of
Yeah,
yourself.
100%. That for me started with sobriety almost 2 years ago. I own a wine bar. So there's lots of stories behind that. But basically, I built this place for myself. And by this place, I mean, I'm sitting in my office right now, which happens to be on the second floor of the wine bar. And I have basically in my adult life turned every hobby or every passion into a business. And this was no different. I love to drink wine. I love to party with my friends. I loved all of that. But I realized about 2 years ago, and if I'm being honest, about 2 decades ago, that alcohol was just not serving me anymore. And in my heart, I just knew that if I let that go, everything else would just kind of fan out in front of me. And that's exactly what happened. I don't care if other people drink. It's cool. You do you and I'll be me. It just didn't serve me anymore. And I changed that one habit for me and everything else really just ironed itself out. Not without some work, but I believe that in my heart that that's exactly what happened. What I thought would happen is what happened.
That's amazing. It sounds like you had to meditate on that next step for quite a while before taking that step.
Decades. I knew that I was medicating with it and I just knew it wasn't the right medication. And it's just, now that I don't have it, it's just changed my life dramatically.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would say that I've been sober curious for a while too, but I think a lot of people can relate who especially live in the Midwest. It is like the cornerstone of our culture. And for Wisconsin, I mean, yeah, Wisconsin cheese, but also drinking is like...
It's just part of our culture. It's part of the reason we started Mox and Cox, because it's just so weird here and to not drink and it keeps people drinking. And what Bridget, my partner, and I really try to, I mean, our tagline is kind of, we're just two Wisconsin gals trying to make not drinking not weird. It's really like, that's just it. So.
Yeah, I love your and Bridget's approach to Mox and Cox. And for those of you out there who are curious, they have a podcast called Mox and Cox. And, you know, Bridget says on it, like, she drinks or sometimes she doesn't. And so you guys are making it so normal instead of being in one camp or the other. And you're just trying to say, hey, we still want to hang out with our same friends who do drink. We still want to do all the same things. We just don't want to drink.
It's really just the ethanol that goes in one glass and doesn't go in the other glass. And we kind of use our mocktails or non-alcoholic options. I use them as a huge tool. That's one of the tools in my toolbox, is to make sure that I'm armed with non-alcoholic options when I go somewhere. And the rest of it for me was the meditation, the yoga, the exercise, the eating better, everything I was sort of fighting against. It just kind of flows in my direction now.
And you were doing the work. That's what quitting drinking was. And like you said, there's a difference between kind of the trendiness of the self-help world or the spiritual world. And believe me, I've been there, like buying the crystals, doing the, journaling, getting the journal prompts, like all that stuff. But it can just be fun to do it. But you actually like got vulnerable with yourself, took a good look at yourself and said, look, this is heavy on my heart to go sober. And this is the first step to many steps of action. Like you took action to pursue the freedom that you have right here today.
And I did all the work while I was drinking and it never worked. And so that's when I knew that, I mean, I was doing all the things, right? I was doing the journaling and the meditation and the yoga and the reading and the listening to podcasts and documentaries and all of the things, except for the one thing that I knew would make the difference. And then when it finally did, it was all those years of work up to that point too. While I was drinking, it was all the years of work. This is cumulative. It's not like I just like, oh, this is amazing. My life is amazing. I've also learned thousands of things along the way by quitting and starting and quitting and starting.
So much trial and error, it sounds like.
Yeah. There's no such thing as failure. It's just lessons.
And that is a perfect line. And I can't wait to open your human design chart because that is like right in there. And for the listeners, I mean, this is such a lesson in there. Like you said, you can get there however you want to. So if you're not ready to take that step that's heavy on your heart yet, you can take action in the ways that you can right now. The main thing is start to take action because that will move the dial just a little bit in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah, just the learning, right? Like we're lifelong learners. I don't think just because my life is amazing right now, and I really do believe it is amazing, I am completely content, super at peace. Just, I feel really good. I feel good physically. I feel good mentally. I feel good spiritually. I have a lot of more work to do. Like, I don't want this to be the end. That doesn't mean that shitty things aren't going to happen. I've been through my fair share of shitty things, right? Things change, life happens. I just feel really like better prepared for when those things come along rather than like, oh, it's just going to hit me like a 2x4. So I feel really good where I am right now. Do I think I can feel better? 100%.
Yeah. And to give a listeners an understanding into your life. So you're in your mid 40s, right?
Yep. Almost 45.
Okay. Almost 45. And so it's a journey and you're enjoying the journey now. And I think the goal for everyone, whether you're 16, 25, 35, 45, start enjoying the journey now, even if you don't like where you are at all. Because like you said, we're lifelong learners. And even when you get to this point where you're at now, you're like, ooh, what else is going to come my way? What else can I grow through? Like, this is exciting.
And I know that I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And from a small business entrepreneurship standpoint, when I actually figured out that there were things that I could not do at all, right? I thought I could, and I tried, and some of those things fell through the cracks. And when I discovered I cannot do this, so therefore let's figure out what I'm good at and what I want to do, and then let's hire out for the rest. And that's when like the businesses just went crazy. That's when I stepped back and said, I'm not grinding anymore. I'm paying people to do this stuff for me. And if that means I make no money, but the business is doing well, that's all I really cared about. And that's when things changed. That's when the bottom line really changed.
That's amazing. And it sounds like to me, you went from what could have felt like telling the universe you were in a lack mentality or a smaller mentality to really stepping into an abundance mentality. And after you did that, everything just changed.
Absolutely. I love that universe. She's my friend. She's my best friend.
Right before I pressed record, Katy started talking about her conversations with the universe. And I was like, we need to press record because right before this episode, I did a solo just talking about how to start your relationship with the universe. Because at my last human design workshop that I did here at your place, I found myself answering every question when they wanted to clarify, like, okay, well, how do I start working with my energy? I'd be like, well, just start by letting the universe know you want to do this. That's where to start, is to just start putting that energy out there. The universe has your back and it is here for you. When did that relationship start for you and how did you find it?
I found it through The Secret.
Okay, yeah.
So if you don't
know, which is now on Netflix even. It's a book and on Netflix, right?
I looked for it the other night because I was having this conversation with somebody else and I couldn't find it, but it's out
maybe
there.
It's gone now.
I'll find it. It was on DVD when I had it. So that dates me. It was, my husband and I had just gotten married. We lived in Bayfield, Wisconsin. I was selling real estate at the time. He had his own business. We were just like in an extended happy hour up there. It's a tourist spot. So it was an amazing time to be like married without kids. And we just had such a great time. But I must have been looking for something because The Secret landed in my lap. I don't know where I found it. I don't know if somebody gave it to me or I just came across it, but it was definitely the video on a DVD. I watched it and then I watched it again. And then I watched it again and again and again. And if you have not seen it, it is, I don't know if they've like redone it, but it is the cheesiest, most ridiculous documentary you've ever seen, I think. It's really dramatic where it shouldn't be dramatic. So The Secret is the law of attraction. So there's your spoiler alert. It is called The Secret, but The Secret is simply the law of attraction. And I just couldn't ever shake that wasn't true. And so I started with little stuff, right? Like, and that's what The Secret tells you, like, start with little things, like start with asking for $1 and seeing $1 like show up at the laundromat. And so for me, I started with parking spots. And almost everywhere I've gone since, I've gotten the first spot. Like, and it's now like a running joke. And just now I'm just thankful for the universe for like, thank you for the spot again. But I felt a little bit like I've kind of put a lot of energy around this. Like maybe it's not going to happen today. And so around the gas station, I was like, actually, no, it is going to happen. I'm already thankful for the spot. And I also have to make clear that I don't drive around looking for the spot, right? Like I don't just like keep making laps until I get the first spot. I never have to wait for it.
I love that reframe. When you're trying to manifest something, you already got it. You are feeling grateful for it. Because what I have learned and found in my journey of this is, in the beginning, I thought I just needed to like say the affirmation 12 times, write it down, like whatever. But I was just like doing it and not really feeling it in my body. This inner belief, knowing, this inner trust in the universe that like it will deliver. So do you feel like you can feel a difference between when your ego, your mind starts to just play tricks on you and be like, you're full of shit. Like, you're not going to get this. Versus like, I can feel this like feeling in my stomach or my back or something of like, no, I am like embodied in this manifestation practice.
I have been proven right so many times also that it's hard not to believe it because I have so much proof, but it didn't happen right away. It didn't happen that way. I didn't have the proof. I just had to believe that, like, I just had to have faith that was true. And then I got, like little rewards here and there, but I can literally manifest stuff within minutes now. This sounds like a crazy story and nobody's really going to believe it except that I have a picture of it. I found a manifestation journal on Amazon not too long ago, and it was like manifest $10,000 and, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to see what the journal looked like. And so I did it. Like, I was doing the journal prompts. I followed all of the things. And I mean, it was $10,000 in cash that I was trying to manifest.
And in how many days?
30.
30 days. Okay. $10,000, 30 days.
$10,000 in cash in 30 days. And I didn't know where it was going to come from. I didn't really care, right? I was just going to manifest $10,000. So one of our renters prepaid 7 months of their rent in cash. Like, walked in with $9,700 in cash and laid it out on the counter on day 26.
Wow. How amazing. Did you build your belief? Did you feel like you were kind of plugged in energetically to the fact that this is going to happen?
I can also recognize really quickly when I don't believe, and I can usually turn it because, again, it's been proven so many times to me that I'm like, this is going to happen. And then sure enough, like, here it is. I guess some would argue like, well, that money was already coming to you. I don't care. It was $10,000 in cash. I don't care if it was already owed to me. I don't care where it came from. That's what I asked for, and that's what I got.
And no tenant usually plans on paying that much in advance. That was definitely the universe working with you.
Yeah. And I don't really care what everybody else thinks at this point. Like, the universe is like, she loves me and I love her. And we just like keep loving each other.
What is your practice when you're like, I need to energetically change this?
I use the visualization of flipping over my magnet a lot. If there's 2 horseshoe magnets and they're pushing, I just flip one. Because then they connect. So I can usually feel if I'm not in tune with where I feel like I should be with the universe, or if I'm not aligned in some way. Now I've gotten so in tune with my body and so in tune with my mental process that if I'm not like moving with it's like I'm pushing constantly, right? Like I'm pushing 2 magnets. And so I have a visualization of just like literally flipping over my magnet, and then those 2 pieces come together and I'm good. I just know what really works for me. And now it's just super fun. I'm always just so thankful before I get it, because I know it's already coming. The interesting thing now is more of finding what I actually want and asking for that versus like trying to make something up just to ask for it. So at the beginning of the year, I didn't really know what I wanted. I'm a January 1st kind of gal. I love New Year's resolutions. This year, I decided instead of a resolution, I was going to ask the universe that if I was supposed to be doing speaking engagements, give me 3 by the end of February. Like, give me 3 organic speaking engagement asks before that. And by March 31st, I had 3.
I think a lot of people need to hear this, is that once you start working with the universe and start your relationship, you can really leave the door open for the universe to show you what you're supposed to be doing. Because in the age of information, we're taking in what we think we should be doing. But you were kind of like, look, I think I want to do speaking, but universe, if this is aligned for me, bring me 3. And then it answered you.
She answered me immediately. Did I ever in my whole life think that that was possible? Like, she just keeps giving me signs. It takes like almost all the fear and anxiety out of so much of my life, because I just believe that if it's the right thing, it will present itself. And if it's not, it won't.
And that's a good thing to take note on if you're listening today and you're like, I'm going to try to manifest something. And if it doesn't come, just take that as a note that maybe the universe is doing you a favor. And should you force it, or should you maybe try some other things until you really feel aligned? Let's pull up your human design chart, because you keep saying things that I'm like, let me point that out on your chart. Okay, so Katy has been gracious enough to show us her human design chart, which for me in human design, that's kind of like being naked, you know?
I don't know that. So that's interesting.
And energetically naked. No, everybody, some people love sharing their charts. Other people want to keep it for themselves. But here it is. And I don't even know if we'll have it on video. So I will try to continue to talk like we are in podcast form. But for Katy's sake, I'm going to show her graph today so that she can see it. And you can look at your human design chart on many different websites. I tend to use mybodygraph.com, but there's a lot of free websites out there. You need your birth date, time, and location in order to pull it. Human design is here to show us who we are meant to be under all the layers of conditioning that the world brings to us throughout our lives. So we're trying to de-homogenize with human design and become more individual. So this is Katy's chart, and human design is many layers deep. I'm not going to talk about it all of it today, but what Katy has been talking about, how she's the self-proclaimed entrepreneur. She's done many things in her life. She can jump from one thing to the next. I mean, she was a real estate agent, and then, you know, a wine bar owner, and then got into holistic health, and now Mox and Cox, like so many things. That really, really aligns to your energy type, Katy, which is a manifesting generator. Did you already know you were MG?
No.
Okay, amazing. So there's 5 energy types in human design. Your energy type is a manifesting generator, and manifesting generators and generators are a very similar energy type. The other one of them is a manifester. So actually, manifesting generator is kind of a hybrid of the two, of generator and manifester. But what makes you more like a generator is having your sacral motor defined, which is the small red square above the root center in your graph. So for those of you who know the chakra system really well, it's your sacral chakra. And you have the life force energy to do, and go, as long as you are doing things you love. But if you start doing things that are forceful or hard or frustrating or that you don't love, your energy tank just depletes itself.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
Oh, wow. Yes. And every single person that knows me.
So as an MG, I keep saying MG for short, so manifesting generator, you are actually a multi-passionate doer. You are meant to do many things in your lifetime, and MGs are meant to forge a new path. They are non-linear beings. So society is very much set up for you to either pick a path and stick with it, go to college, pick the job, stick with it. That it does not work for MGs. They be all over the place. And actually, their energy is very spontaneous and fast. So oftentimes they get excited about an activity But all of a sudden, when they're doing that activity, they're done. Like they feel done and then they move on to the next one.
Yes. I could write this without knowing any of it.
Did you ever find insecurities around like, I mean, did anyone, your loved ones be like, why can't you ever finish something?
I have goosebumps so bad right now. I felt for most of my adolescence into my late teens, into my early 20s, that I always felt bad, bad on many, many levels about how I could never finish anything, how I started 1,000 things. I mean, I've had every hobby under the sun, right? And I've also turned all the hobbies into jobs, right? Like I loved flowers. I became a flower farmer. I decided I liked sewing, so I couldn't just sew. I had to sell kids pajamas, right? Like I loved taking a body pump class. I couldn't just take the class. I had to become an instructor. And on and on and on and on. I basically turned all of those things into a job of some sort. But I have done 1,000 different things and I always felt bad about it.
Aw.
And then I just stopped. Then I was like, this is just who I am. And I think it became kind of, how am I going to embrace this? How am I going to figure out how to embrace this and really, because there's got to be other people like me. There's got to be other people out there that feel very scattered and very unorganized and that is a weakness, instead of look at all these amazing ideas I have, or look at all these amazing products I can think of, or these workshops I can do, or the 1,000 different things. I just felt like I can't be the only one.
I seriously getting tears in my eyes listening to you, because I am also a manifesting generator and have had the exact same experience. I've just come up against adversity of people who aren't MGs and like don't get it, that when the energy isn't there anymore, I'm either 100 or 0. Either I am so in and excited, and I've done the same thing, Katy, got into yoga, became a yoga instructor, was into fitness, I became a personal trainer, like everything under the sun. I have jumped. And for a while there, my identity was that I'm just a job hopper and I can't commit, blah, 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 blah. Finding human design and to learn that MGs are supposed to just collect tools for their tool belt along the way, and that in the future, they are going to take all these tools they learned from all the different things that lit them up and create something beautiful and wonderful, or do their work or their job or their life purpose in a way that uses so many little lessons that they learned from all those tools.
I have taken a piece of every single job along the way and become a business owner with no college degree. I have learned everything online by myself. I've learned it from reading books. I've learned it from trial and error. I can just learn really fast and really efficiently. And I'm just a figure outer. I don't know how else to say it. So I just have been able to learn so many things so fast. And then when that life cycle has ended, it just ends.
Yes. And that is exactly what a manifesting generator should do. You move quickly, you get a lot done during the day, but when you don't feel lit up about it anymore, you're supposed to end. And manifesting generators and generators are the only energy types that have this worker bee energy. They can work, but they should not be working on something they don't love.
Yeah.
They produce beautiful, magical life force energy that like helps the world, gives this energy out to the other energy types as well when they're doing things they love.
My energy is tied to so many things that make what I do successful, that I have to be really careful. Right. I have to be really cognizant of where my energy is.
Yeah. So without even knowing your human design, you already came to the conclusion of, hey, if my energy doesn't feel aligned with this anymore, if I don't feel lit up and excited about it, or if I just have this like feeling in my body of like stagnant frustration or no energy there, it's time to time to move on. Like
Yeah.
I did what I needed to do. It's beautiful. And now I'm ready for the next thing.
I guess I knew that. It's interesting to know that it was already there.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of wish I would have known this at 20 because I
I
wouldn't
know.
have felt bad for it about it for 25 years. But now that I know it, and again, for this to like for the universe to bring me you and then you to bring me this, I really
Yeah.
feel like I knew it at a visceral level, but to have it validated is so validating.
Good. Good.
For a while, it was sort of like a jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that has a negative connotation to it. But I'm kind of a master of all trades and a jack of none. I mean, I really.
And many, many MGs are. That is very much it. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot. I know a lot about a lot, not just a little about a lot. I know a lot about a lot. And a lot of those things that I can bring to fruition, it's fascinating to know that, first of all, I didn't even know that I didn't know any of the manifesting generator, which kind of just like goes to show that there's other people like me. I just didn't know I don't know who they are. And is this a small portion of the population?
So manifesting generators make up around 37% of the population.
Interesting.
And generators make up around 33. So together, because it's a similar energy type, they all have their defined sacral, this life force energy where they just can go as long as they're doing things that they're meant to say yes to, is around 70% of the population. And through human design, the founder of human design said, if we can just help generators and MGs really align with their correct energy, we can really heal the world. And
so fascinating.
That's what I'm seeing with your story is the MG wound of, man, I'm just doing so many things and I haven't quite found my place. And, I'm all over the place a little bit, but MGs are supposed to do that. They are on a nonlinear path and they are meant to bring a new way of doing things to this world. And another thing that I want to point out is your profile, which is like your archetype, your personality. It's kind of this karmic walk you're meant to walk in your life. And that is a 4-6. The 4-6 is the networker role model. So there's 2 numbers in your profile. And the first number is 4, which is the networker, which means you are really connected to your community. And unlike some of the other profile types, you are meant to engage with life through your network at all times. The quality of your relationships is the quality of your life. Even if it's a friend of a friend of a friend, you will always be receiving your opportunities through your network.
That's interesting you say that. I am a firm, solid believer in it. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Again, that can have
spoken like a 4 for sure.
That has always come with a negative connotation too. I'm not sure where that comes from, but relationships to me are like the life force of everything. It is always about who I know and how I can connect that person with the next thing. And nothing is bringing me more joy right now in my life. I love it. If we are doing what we're meant to do, we're supposed to share it with the world and our community. So those are for you to say that, like the networking part, it's my jam. I love it. Yeah. And I also love to be able to share what I know because I kind of know a lot. You're never going to get a handbook out of me.
Yeah. And that kind of goes in line with the 6, which is the role model. And before I talk about the 6, I will say you are right on the mark. My producer, Jamie, is also a 4-6 profile. And she started this podcast production company because she was sick of seeing all of the talented women in her life not being showcased. And she was like, I need to shout off the rooftops about this. And she only collaborates when she produces a new brand now. She doesn't want to do it on her own. And that's because she has that networker profile line in her profile. So that's absolutely beautiful, Katy. And so the 6 is the role model. And I feel like that's what you're really starting to step into. And for the 6, you actually live your life out in 3 different phases. It's an interesting profile line. For the first 30 years of your life, you're meant to be an experimenter. You are meant to try on everything for size. Like, even if someone tells you how something is done, you want to do it yourself. And you're supposed to fail a lot, succeed a lot. And in all those failures, you are actually succeeding because you are collecting all these experiences for the role model. After you're 30, so between 30 and 50 is the second phase of the 6. And that's when you kind of retreat a little bit and you take in all those experiments you've done while maybe still experimenting a little bit and really look at everything you've learned. And like you just said, like, oh my gosh, I've learned so much. I want to share it with everybody. And in the human design lens, after 50 years old is when you start your third phase as a 6 and you come back out into society just living 110% authentically you, and you become a role model just by other people observing you. So it's kind of a new age of leadership where you are just so in your authenticity from all of your life experiences, more than the other profile lines have. And you just become a natural role model, which sounds like that's what you're doing.
And it's what I would love to do. I think I'm also feeling really good about myself. So it makes me feel like I'm healthy enough to be a role model. I was never there before, right? Like I might have been inspiring in some ways, but it never aligned. And I think because I'm so much closer to being in real authentic alignment, I'd love to be a role model for people. I'd love to inspire somebody to do something. I'd love to get them out to like take a chance on themselves and really trust themselves. If I can do that by just being me, man.
How fun, right? That is being a 6. You are just naturally being a role model by being you after all these years of lessons and trials and tribulations and just like picking up, all these different tools that you have again as an MG as well. So one thing I want to tell you about in regards to being an MG is that you have a certain strategy to work with the energy of the universe. And unlike manifestors, which are actually the only energy type that are supposed to initiate, like actually go out and make things happen, you have an aura that is magnetic when you are in alignment. You actually call the universe to you. So your strategy as an MG, and for those listening, also generators, is to respond to the universe coming to you. So you should feel in your energetic body an almost guttural response in your day-to-day life. And you are always responding to things, whether you realize it or not. It's hard to respond to open-ended questions. So start to talk with your loved ones in your life to start giving you actual like options to respond to so you can feel it in your body. But your strategy to start really aligning to this MG energy is to allow the universe to bring things to you and feel in your body, whether it's a yes, and that can be like verbal, oh my gosh, I'm excited, or visceral, like, oh, I want to step away from this, And from there, if you answer the universe in the correct way that your response is, the universe is going to continue to send things to you to help you continue onto your path. Actually, one of my first recommendations when I do readings for MGs and generators is, did you even open up space in your life to allow the universe to come to you? Because if you're just keeping yourself busy with so many things and just responding to everything in your environment and not intentionally responding, there's not even space for the universe to send you something. So the first step is to say no to some things or open up room in your schedule, like whatever little steps you can start to take to open up pockets in your life of a little more kind of how we started this conversation, softness and ease and trust. Then the universe will send you things to either say yes or no.
I've also made a lot of space for myself. So it's interesting that you say that. That's part of where I like should be or should be doing, because I've done that already. When I need space, I walk out into the alpaca field and just sit there. I'm not on my phone, and I could never sit with myself, Dayna. For the first 30 years of my life, I could not be alone. I couldn't be alone with my thoughts. I couldn't be alone. I mean, if I was alone, I was drinking because I just could not be alone. And I love it now. Like, I love being alone. I love it. I love my company. I love the things I do by myself. I really love to be alone. It's such a far cry from where I was. It's like a whole new life compared to where I was. It's interesting to see because I'm guessing as from a human design perspective, I've always been this way.
Yes. So that's what's so amazing about human design is it's like you said before, you wish you had this 30 years ago. It's a cheat sheet to help us get there so much faster rather than getting sick
Having to do all this work on your own.
It's a little insight into what our energy always has been, what our soul always wanted to do or be, what our top gifts are, what our purpose is. And throughout our lives, we get conditioned. And human design is here to help us decondition from all, our childhood, our society, our communities, like just everything that we've taken in, because it's literally our auras. And when we step into someone else's aura, just like you step into another room, you can feel the energy of the room. We are all conditioning each other. And I'll give you an example. So Katy has a very energized chart. She has all of her centers defined except her head and her ajna. So if you're familiar with the chakra system, she has consistent access to energy in many, many chakras. Only her head and her ajna is open. So when she walks into a room, if she's next to somebody who has a much more open chart, so they'll have a lot more white centers in their chart, you are actually mechanically conditioning them with your energy. They are taking on your energy. So for example, I think this is so cool, Katy, that you and I were somehow connected because I also have a very energized chart. I'm also a manifesting generator, but I have my head and my ajna defined. So I have that colored in. I don't have my spleen or heart defined, which Katy has. So as Katy and I are sitting across from each other today, we make a fully defined human design chart. We represent every single energy center.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool.
So cool. So cool. I mean, my heart center and my spleen is completely open, and the heart center is the center of willpower. It's this energy to compete. It's the 11th hour energy to really like go for it right at the end. I don't have that. I only get to feel that energy when I'm with somebody like you. And so it's so fun to be in your presence of like, what you've done all your life, which is kind of like said, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do this. And probably a lot of times you've used this heart motor energy when you've needed it the most, and that's something that I don't have. I'm meant to wake up every morning, and some days I simply just don't have the willpower to go for it. And I'm supposed to know that that's okay. Just like you have a very open head center, which means you can literally walk into a room and almost hear other people's ideas. You're able to really take in a lot of inspiration. Mine is colored in, it's defined. So I actually have my own energy there. I don't necessarily need to listen to all the podcasts or read all the things. I am bringing in my own mental thoughts and chatter from the universe. Whereas you're able to take in the worlds around you and amplify it and use that as wisdom for others. Like, especially as you're doing, let's say, any talks that you're doing or working with clients, you may hear their mental chatters, their anxieties, whatever's going through their head, and be able to speak that out loud for them.
This is so fascinating. My first idea that came to mind when you were talking about like the open space and colored is like, can we get a party of people together with all of these things and just hang out one night? I feel like that would be so cool to be like, you have this open space, but you have this. And just to observe people walking around doing that would be so cool.
That is an incredibly good idea, because if on your chart where the lines are coming out of the shapes on the graph, some of them are not connected, as you can see. And when you're with somebody else, they might have the other side, and you connect it and make a very energetic channel there. And then you guys can collaborate and work together on that specific gift or energy.
How fascinating.
It is so cool. And
how many readings have you done in, like, could you make a full,
like, combine them together? Yes. Because
oh my God, how fun would that be? I'm going to use you. You're now part of my mentoring team, because this is really what I would love to do is I've got quite a few people in my back pocket that I have, the connections I've made over the years of, personal trainers, yoga instructors, acupuncturists, massage therapists, like all of these people that have like financial coaches, but people that I trust, that are real people, that really, like, we would make one big team. Like, I would love just because I think that there are so many resources that you just, like, people want one-stop shop, right? And I'm one of those people. I would love to go in and be like, hey, can you give me, like, I don't even know what I need, but you tell me what I need. And this is one of them.
And that's how I feel about human design. It cuts the bullshit. Because you can learn so many different modalities. You can be told, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. I need to do an 8-step morning routine, like all those things. Your human design chart gives you insight into how incredibly different you are from a lot of the people out there who wrote those books. And even though it worked great for them, it doesn't necessarily mean it will work great for you.
Like, you do you. And like, let's just all be okay with it.
And one more thing I want to point out on your chart, because I explained your strategy, which is to listen to that inner gut feeling, that sacral center of like, do I love this or don't I? And say yes or no to those things. But on top of your strategy in human design, you also have an authority, which is your decision-making style. You are an emotional authority. And it means that you actually ride different emotional waves. You have different emotional weather all the time throughout your days. And that there's really no truth in the now for you, that your final decision should always be written out. You should feel it when you're at a high in your wave. You should feel it when you're at a low, and wait until you come to a neutral place to really make, especially those big decisions. So even though you have the gut answer through your strategy, take note of that. Like, yes, I love that idea right now on a Monday. Let me get back to you on this question. Ride your emotions out a little bit, because in human design, you're an emotional being, which means that you actually wake up every day in different emotional weather. And unlike we've been kind of led to believe that emotions oftentimes are tied to what's going on in our life, they're tied to events, things that are happening to us. We, the people with defined solar plexus, actually just wake up in different emotional weather. And that's part of the human experience, feeling the ecstasy of happiness or feeling the low of melancholy, and to not try to get rid of it, but instead work through it, be creative in it, and embrace it.
So fascinating.
I am also an emotional authority, and it has taken me so long to not come up with a reason for the way I feel, and to just know. And even though I have this human design information in front of me, like, just know that whatever I'm feeling, what I'm going through that day is going to be amplified to one end or the other. If I'm feeling blue or down or lethargic, yeah, maybe something someone says is going to be amplified more than if I was feeling really good that day. I would have just let it roll off my back, So I love that you're already in tune with your emotional wave, it sounds like.
I think now, looking back to, of course, hindsight is 2020, but I think now that you say that, it makes, and I'm going to sit with this for a little bit, but it sort of makes my drinking habit really interesting, because if I was really trying to ride that wave of emotion and I was trying to medicate the emotion and trying to figure it out, and it was just easier to drink it away, right? To like numb it out. I wonder how much that actually happened.
Now that you're saying that, I think I really relate to using alcohol as, like you said before, not sitting with yourself. Like, just being like, okay, I'm uncomfortable in this emotional wave, especially because it's a melancholy one today. And instead of choosing to do something creative, like playing the piano or journaling or coloring or just being alone, which I highly recommend when you're in a lower emotional wave, just grabbing the alcohol is like, well, I'm going to change it.
Now that I hear this, it's so interesting to recognize how much I knew I was medicating, but I didn't sort of know, I didn't have like the extreme lows where I felt like, oh God, I had the horrible day at work. I have to have a drink to like calm myself. It was just more of like a wave. I don't know. Like, I don't know how else to explain it except how you explained it to me. In the morning, I would be like, oh, well, like there's no reason for me to drink or whatever. But in the afternoon, it would be a whole different, it'd be like I was a different person. And I sort of still feel that. Like, I still feel throughout the day, my emotions change, or I can be very chameleon like. Like, I'm not always happy and, excited and enthusiastic. I think it's why I've really had a hard time getting to who I am, because I ride these emotions all the time. So that's a fascinating thing to learn about this, because I wonder how much of that, well, I don't really wonder anymore. I think so much of that is tied to this.
It's a big part of it. And that's why I want to get this message out there for people to learn their human design, because around 51% of the population are emotional authorities.
Oh, my gosh.
There's a lot of emotional beings out there. And what's even more wild is while we are sitting in our emotions every day, going up and down. And unfortunately, a lot of times tying our conversations or what we're doing and making things dramatic in our mind about it, which human design is all about letting go of the mind, getting back into the body. People who aren't emotionals, they have that center undefined. So that center is white, the solar plexus. And when we step into the room with them, with our emotions, they actually feel our emotions and amplify it. They may feel our emotions even more than we do. That's why sometimes some of my loved ones in my life I can walk in and they can be like, what's wrong? And I didn't even know I was in that wave yet. They're picking up on it before I even realized that I'm in a different wave. And so if we can start having this language of just saying, oh my gosh, no worries, I'm just in a low emotional wave right now. I'm going to go work on my work right now. I think that's best for me. Or I'm going to go take a minute to meditate. I'm going to go out to the fields and just sit. Whatever that is that you like to do when you're in a certain emotional wave, to recollect your mind, take your mind again and bring it back into your body, because human design is all about not letting the mind be the driver of our life, but actually our innate energetic gifts to be the driver.
It's very cool, Dayna.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's so cool.
I love it. I love it. I love this. I love it.
One last thing, because I just have to tell you about this. In human design, you have one gift that is like the biggest gift of your chart, and you have a lot of gifts in it, but yours is called the Gate of Intuitive Insight. You have the gift of intuitive insight and clarity in the present moment. And this is actually coming from your spleen center, which is the most primal center. And this center is all about intuitive awareness. So whereas the sacral has that like gut kind of loud intuition, this is really quiet and subtle. It only comes once. And if you don't really hear it or respond to it, it may go away again. And what's interesting is, and for those listeners who are already in their human design experiment, this is gate 57, the gate of intuitive insight, is that you have a deep inner attunement to sound in regards to your intuition. And they even say that oftentimes it may come from your right ear.
Oh, weird.
I know. So start to pay attention to that. It was wild to me when I learned about that. But like you will get these intuitive nudges and they'll almost speak to you. So whether that's actually like you lean towards people with your right ear without even realizing it, or maybe it's just even you're hearing it in the, more right side of your body. I want you to experiment with that and like get back to me about it.
I love me a good project. So, or like some homework. So that I will be doing that and I will report back. If I start hearing really stuff out of my right ear, I'm calling you.
For sure. You have to report back and just pay attention to it. I do have one friend who, when she learned this, she was like, okay, I swear I do lean with my right body always. Like I lean towards people that way.
I do. Now I have to, I'm on video quite a bit just from Mox and Cox and stuff. So I'll have to see if I'm like constantly leaning. Yeah. I probably am.
So fascinating.
Oh,
this has been so fun, Katy. I've really enjoyed chatting it up, getting to know you a little bit more. And I have a feeling that this won't be the end of us working together. I think we will be working together in the future.
That's amazing. Really. I really do think that this is something, again, if I would have had this 30 years ago, like we could just share this with everyone. And
so much personal development for people when they start their journey. It can really help you just get to the next steps a little bit faster and be a guide when you start to go off course to bring you back on and just reassure you that what you're feeling is the correct, way that you are, that you've been made up.
Yeah, I think for me, this was so validating, right? Because I thought that I was a lot of the things you said, but it's always been attached to right or wrong, according to other people. And the fact that you can't get much more right than having your birth date and time and place. And this is exactly who you're supposed to be. I love no other thing more.
Yeah. So now you can go from just confidently being like, this just is the way I am, to being like, hey, also human design says this is the way I am.
I was told.
Yes.
I love it.
I love that. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing with us today about everything. Yeah, it's been super fun and I'm super excited to collaborate. Anything else on your heart you want to share?
No, I think that this is really cool and I look forward to getting our energies together.
Yes, me too, for sure. Okay, great. Well, have a good day, Katy.
You too. Thanks, Dayna.
Ordinary Magic is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Dayna Faye. Music is by Shane Ivers. Until next time, I wish you many powerful moments of ordinary magic.